Greetings, everybody. Thanks for joining us for this installment of AMC For Your Consideration. This is episode number 3, originally recorded on Monday, August the 6th at the AMC Burbank 16 in Burbank, California. Thanks so much for joining us. We hope you enjoy the show. Greetings, salutations, everybody. Welcome to this installment of AMC's For Your Consideration movie talk for movie fans. As always, I am your host. My name is John Campy. I'm the senior editor of AMC Movie News. And we've got a full table today, which I'm really excited about. First of all, joining me to my immediate right, he is a film critic for JoeBlow.com. You know him around the web as Jimmy O. James Oster. James, thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you. I brought the hat for you.
I love the hat.
Oh, good.
I was just telling Jimmy that I went about 3 years where I literally never saw him without this hat, so I said, you got to bring the hat back. Sitting to Jimmy's right, she is the co-host with Stan Lee on Cocktails with Stan and a writer on just about every reputable movie site there is out there. She is Miss Jenna Busch. Jenna, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having me, and it took me 3 years to see him without the hat, too.
Yes, it took a while. And sitting to Jenna's right, she is the associate editor for AMC Movie News around these parts. She is known as J-Ro. Roth Cornet. Roth, thanks for being here.
Hello, interwebs.
Listen, guys, thank you so much for joining us. For those of you, especially who are watching us live right now on our Ustream feed, but also to all of the rest of you who are watching us on Apple TV or on your Roku box or on YouTube or Blip or wherever you're watching us, thanks so much for joining us. For those of you who are watching us live, though, the last segment of the show we dedicate to you. You guys program what we talk about. So if you are watching us live, if you look beside the Ustream player, you'll see there is a social stream chat board. Just jump in there. We've got Ryan back there at the producer's table who is monitoring that. He's going to keep an eye on it. So throw in questions or comments that you would like us to talk about near the end of the show. He'll keep track of those, and we will get to as many of your questions and comments as we possibly can. But now let's get on to the business at hand. We've got a whole bunch of stuff here that we need to talk about today. Some really cool stuff, some great movie news. But I wanted to start with this. Last show, we mentioned how August is kind of like the unofficial end to the summer movie season,
Yes.
which got me thinking about what lies ahead still in 2012. And there are some great movies still to come out in 2012. So I thought that we would take a few minutes here, and I'm going to run down for you what I believe are the top 10 films to still look forward to in 2012. So I'm going to run those down for you, and then my panel here with me is going to tell me why I'm an idiot and why my list is completely wrong. And by all means, jump in the chat board as well and tell us where you think I am wrong. So I'm going to start off here with what I believe are the top 10 films to look forward to 2012. But before I get to number 10, I'm going to list some honorable mentions. These are films that I think are worth looking forward to, but they didn't quite make it onto my top 10 list. My honorable mentions would be the John C. Reilly upcoming animated film Wreck-It Ralph. I think that film looks wonderful.
That has to be on the list. I'm very angry at you.
I'm already getting yelled at.
Gamer. Yes. No, that's on the list.
It's gonna get ugly.
Awesome.
Okay,
Come
wait,
on.
let me get, oh my gosh, let me get
Seriously.
through my list. So
you started with that one.
my number 1 on my honorable mention list is Wreck-It Ralph. My number 2 is Paranorman.
No, John, honestly, Paranorman is fantastic.
Paranorman is awesome.
It's really
Why do
an
you hate
excellent
kids
film.
films? Why? Why?
This is going to be a long day. Number 3 on my honorable mention list is the new film Looper.
Oh, God. And this is
What are you
where
doing?
this is
You're
where
reading
we
it
might-
wrong.
We're going to actually fight.
All right.
Continue.
Also on my honorable mention list is going to be Taken 2. The Expendables 2, which I would not have put on my list a week ago, but I saw it. We're not allowed to talk about it. I'm just going to say now it's on my list. It's on my honorable mention list. Is The Expendables 2. And for reasons of significance, the final Twilight film. Now, love or hate the final Twilight film, it's you got to take note of it because the franchise is so
everyone
huge.
on the chat line to immediately. Ryan is also known as Irish. You can hit up Irish now and start talking to John about just the honorable mention list
right.
alone.
I think you started reading the list backwards.
Okay,
backwards.
so that is my honorable
What
mention.
was in your coffee this morning? Okay, continue.
Now I'm going to run down my top 10 and why they are, and then I'll throw it to you guys to say what is missing, what shouldn't be on this list, and where you think my order is wrong. But these are 10 really solid things to look forward to. Okay, let me run down this quickly. At number 10, The new Ben Affleck directed film, Argo.
Yes.
Now listen, if for no other reason, Ben Affleck has proven he is one of the best new directors in Hollywood, directing such films as Gone Baby Gone and The Town, both of which I think were magnificent. I think Argo looks fantastic. The premise is so wild, it's hard to believe that it's a true story. You've got to be willing to check out Argo. I have that at number 10 on the list. At number 9, the new Denzel Washington film, Flight. Denzel plays a guy, an airline pilot who saves a plane in the midst of crashing, but then later people find out there was blood in his, there was alcohol in his blood. There was blood in his alcohol. The film is directed by Robert Zemeckis, who this is his first live-action film since he did Castaway, another film which also featured a big plane crash, oddly enough. At number 8, well, I did have The Great Gatsby, the new Leonardo DiCaprio film. However, about an hour ago, literally, it was announced that The Great Gatsby has just been moved to the summer of 2013. So The Great Gatsby, while I had it there on the list, Carey Mulligan, Joel Edgerton, Tobey Maguire, I think, and directed by Baz Luhrmann, who has directed one of my top 20 favorite films of all time in Moulin Rouge. I've been really looking forward to this, but unfortunately, like I said, is now coming out in the summer of 2013. So we're going to take that off the list. And I'm going to insert in its place
Wreck-It Ralph.
Looper. I'm going to slip Looper into its place.
All right, then.
Thank you.
So let's go on to number 7. Anything by Steven Spielberg has got to be noted, and Steven Spielberg's Lincoln. Add Steven Spielberg, Daniel Day-Lewis. Might as well just hand it an Oscar right now. At number 6, look, a lot of you who weren't at Comic-Con are going to laugh at me, and I don't care. Dread.
Awesome movie.
Dread, just look up on Twitter people's feedback who saw this film at Comic-Con. Look, my doubt, I was with you. My doubt was overwhelming for this film, but it's a whole bunch of awesome. Anyway, number 5, Django Unchained with Leonardo DiCaprio, Christoph Waltz, Jamie Foxx.
No, the D is silent. It really is. It's Django.
Quentin Tarantino. This film looks amazing. At number 4, The Master. Directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, and I will give anything I don't think Paul Thomas Anderson is the huge master that a lot of people think he is, but man, he might have changed my mind a bit with There Will Be Blood. That movie was a masterpiece. This looks freaking awesome. Joaquin Phoenix is back. Philip Seymour Hoffman. Is it or is it not about L. Ron Hubbard? Well, obviously it is, but they're not going to admit that. At number 3, Les Miserables. With Hugh Jackman, Russell Crowe, and Anne Hathaway.
We agree with something.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear that. Les Mis is just one of the best stories ever told, period. I think Russell Crowe is the greatest actor alive today. This is a solid cast. This is a brilliant looking film. I cannot wait. And the trailer was amazing. At number 2, I'm going to put Skyfall with Daniel Craig back as Bond. I don't know why I'm looking forward to this movie more than I was looking forward to the last Bond film.
Because it looks way better.
Oh, for 1 million
Yes,
reasons.
it does.
They had a year and a half to write that script.
That's
nailed
true.
the script. The bankruptcy gave them the time to nail down a script, to get a great villain. There's a million reasons why you're looking forward to this over Quantum of Solace.
So I'm really looking forward to Skyfall. And number 1 film to look forward to the rest of this year, obviously, is The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey in 1/3. In 1/3, because now apparently this franchise is going to be a trilogy. They're going to do this in 3 films. I'm still, look, in Peter Jackson I trust, but I still can't wrap my head around how they're going to take this small book and make it into 3 films. But again, in Peter Jackson I trust when it comes to Middle Earth. So that's my list. Once again, number 10, Argo. Number 9, Flight. Number 8, The Great Gatsby. Number 7, Lincoln. Number 6, Dread. Number 5, Django Unchained. Number 4, The Master. Number 3, Les Miserables. Number 2, Skyfall. And number 1, The Hobbit. This is a good year for film, folks. So having laid out my correct and indisputable list, I will throw it open to yon fools to try to debate and argue with me. Yon fools, you may begin.
Yeah, yon fools are going to start. I actually think you have a lot of what I had on my top 10 on that list.
I told you they would be, right? A lot of them would be the same, right?
And I think that the good news is that 2012 in the next 4 months is going to be amazing. There's a lot of great films that are going to be released. And this is typically the time that the best films of the year are released because, well, they're fighting for Oscar contention, you know? So
it's funny how many of these top 10 films are actually in December.
Well, sure.
Almost half of these are December
Yes,
releases.
exactly. Yeah. So here's a couple of the ones that I think you didn't get on your list. First of all, I've seen Paranorman, and it is fantastic. This is such a good, and I know you, John. are going to love this movie.
See, actually, I was going to say the reason I've got it even on my honorable mention list is I don't think the movie looks good at all.
Well, the trailers are serving it.
You and a number of other people have told me how amazing this film is. So I didn't get it in my top 10, but I had to put it on my honorable mention list because of the recommendation.
Absolutely, I know you're going to love this movie. I would not be surprised if this ends up being one of your favorite movies of the year. Another huge movie that's coming out that I think that is noteworthy is Zero Dark 30, which is the Catherine Bigelow film that is going to look at and depict ultimately it was, I guess, an assassination of Osama bin Laden.
Yeah, been looking forward to this film for a long time.
So that's another big one. Another one is Cronenberg's Cosmopolis, which is Robert Pattinson, Juliette Binoche.
I should have had that on my honorable mention list. I don't know why I didn't. You're right. I'm looking forward to that one.
I'm excited for that one as
That's one that I'm really looking forward to. Argo, absolutely. Skyfall. I would say that I absolutely am looking forward to seeing Cloud Atlas. If for nothing else, it's going to be a visual extravaganza. These are the Wachowski siblings. You know what I mean? They don't go small with the visuals. That's one thing. And secondly, the addition of Tom Twyker, who did Run Lola Run. I was right. It was Run Lola Run. I think it's going, and the massive scale of what they're taking on. It's just, I have to see what happens. I don't know that it's going to be a masterpiece. I don't know that it's going to be a great film, but I want to see it. And then there's a lot of other films that are coming out that are sort of smaller films.
But that you would actually bump one of my top 10 out for?
Wreck-It Ralph.
Yeah, well, no, I would bump out for Cloud Atlas. I mean, Cloud Atlas for me is my number 10. I mean, I want to see it because I am dying of curiosity to see it. There's a couple of your films that I would bump out for lots of other things. I want to see Wuthering Heights. I want to see Life of Pi. I do want to see Wreck-It Ralph. Les Mis is probably the thing that was fighting with Cloud Atlas just because that's probably my favorite play. There's Anna Karenina, Killing Them Softly. Lawless, which looks amazing if we've seen the trailers, and then some even smaller films like Compliance, About Cherry, The Paperboy, Butter, Jack and Diane, Craigslist Joe. There are some smaller films that we are going to have in theaters that I think could be amazing films. They might not be. Compliance is one I am dying to see. That was almost on my top 10 list this year, which is just this tiny little movie about what happens when a human being is given orders by someone who appears to be an authority figure. Anyway, if you haven't heard of these films, look them up, check them out. You have a great list, but there were a couple things I thought were missing.
Okay. Jenna, what about you?
Wreck-It Ralph. Here's the thing. I have been a gamer so far back, I won't tell you what game I started playing. But 8-bit games are adorable. I mean, the ghosts from Pac-Man are in the film. It's so cute.
It does look awesome. I mean, it does look awesome.
I'm not a huge... All right, I love Pixar films, though. I would have to say, in general, I'm not a crazy animation person. Like, I like them, but really live action is much more my thing. This one, totally different. Q-Bert. Q-Bert. I had the board game as well as the...
I like the original Street Fighter characters in there too.
Yes.
I am Zangief. I am villain.
It's
that was great.
Fantastic. It looks so cute. This is one I am so excited for, and I think anybody who's a gamer has got to be excited for this one.
Yeah, well, I think even if you're not a gamer, I think that looks charming and adorable and classic. And it's an anime. Again, I'm really surprised because you are such a fan of animated films, John, that I'm really surprised that two of these animated films that I really think, you're going to love Paranorman. Wreck-It Ralph looks fantastic that it's not there. Also, that Looper almost didn't make it.
That
travesty.
That is more of a testament, I think, to the quality of the films that I do have the top 10 in my top 10.
Dredd over Looper.
Really?
You haven't seen Dredd.
It doesn't matter.
I've seen Dredd.
I've seen Brick. I've seen the
Doesn't
Brothers
matter.
Bloom. I know what Ryan Johnson can do.
Let's get to Jimmy here. We need to hear Jimmy's thoughts on all this,
Okay,
Archie.
come on here. I do. Dredd is fantastic. It is balls to the wall, blood and gore, exactly what you want it to be. I'm glad he put that on the list, but she's right.
Boom.
Paranorman?
Jimmy.
Really? Paranorman is on your list?
I have not seen it. I had to put it
But
on.
it looks amazing.
I don't think it looks
Wreck-It
good.
Ralph looks amazing.
It does.
These
Wreck-It
are
Ralph
like.
looks great.
Are you kidding me? Donkey Kong. I remember going to when 7-Elevens used to actually have an arcade. You could go in, you could have a bunch of quarters before someone would kick you out, and you could play Donkey Kong. You could play Pac-Man, and it was awesome. And maybe it's nostalgia. I don't know, but I can't wait. It looks amazing. I've been excited for that since I saw the first few shots of it. Come on, man.
Look, I think it looks great. Like I said, to me, it was just a matter of I don't know what on this list that I had in my top 10 that I would bump out for
let's
Wreck-It
see.
Ralph. Like, am I going to bump out Lincoln, Spielberg,
Yes.
and Daniel Day-Lewis?
Possibly.
You're
to tell you the
insane.
truth.
Yes.
No,
You're
I gotta be
insane.
with Jimmy on this. I'll tell you this.
I'm totally
Look,
agreeing here.
I will tell you this. It may be a great movie. It may not. We don't know. But I did not have Lincoln on my list, and I looked at it and I thought, "What are you, crazy? You can't not have Lincoln. You've sort of got to have Lincoln." And I thought, why? It actually
One of the best directors of
doesn't-
all time with one of the
No,
greatest
because
actors of
here's
all
the thing.
time?
When's the last time that you saw? Okay, I don't want to go there, but this is what I will say. There's not a lot about that film that gets me excited. Do you know what I mean? Looper is my number one thing that I want to see. I am excited about everything having to do with this film. And Paranorman is heartfelt, it's imaginative, it is creative, it is visually beautiful.
Okay, but you have the
Lincoln
advantage
looks
here
boring.
of having seen Paranorman. Now, would you have put it on the top 10 before you had seen it?
No.
Okay, and I am, because of your recommendation, I'm at least putting in my honorable mention list. So I do got to mention this. You mentioned Cloud Atlas, and I've had a couple of people I've talked to about my list. Like, how do you not even have Cloud Atlas in your honorable mention list?
How do you not have it on your honorable mention list?
Because of something that Roth mentioned. The Wachowski siblings. Brought to you by the directors of Speed Racer. Really? Brought to you by the directors of Matrix 3.
Brought to
Also
you by the
Matrix.
director of Run,
Run,
Lola,
Lola,
Run.
But I gotta
Yes.
tell you
Run,
who's in
Lola,
charge
Run
of it.
is a brilliant,
It is.
brilliant movie.
It is.
And he's done some, even his little films. I think it was called Winter
Yeah,
Sleepers.
yeah.
Wonderful
Right.
movie. This guy, Cloud Atlas has the guts to go where no other movie is going this
Yeah.
year. It may be a total bomb. It may be horrible. but
Honestly, a Lincoln
man.
biopic for me at this point, we haven't seen anything. I think that's the other thing too. I mean, perhaps when I see a trailer,
This is all predictive.
Exactly. I'll just completely rewrite what I'm about to say, but there's something about it that feels stale to me.
All right,
I absolutely agree with that. I mean, look, I know the story. I've seen him act. I've seen the direction. There's nothing there that really intrigues me. Like,
Wow.
I'll see it. I'm sure it'll be lovely. But there's just nothing about it that says, oh, God, I can't wait to see what happens. I know what happens.
Well, you can say the same with, a lot of
Well,
them.
you
We
could say
know
that with
the ending.
Hobbit, too, but at
I
least
know.
it's interesting to look at.
All right, listen, we got to move on, but guys, by all means, jump in the chat board and let us know if there are other films that maybe none of us have mentioned that you think we should have had in there, and then Ryan can mention those a little bit later on.
Paperboy. I gotta.
Oh,
I
yeah,
mentioned-
Paperboy's an
Hey,
interesting looking
I
one,
mentioned
too.
the
I gotta say this
Paperboy.
before we
She
go.
did
Yeah,
say
you did mention
Paperboy.
that. I've got to say, I'm so excited to see her do something
yeah.
wild like she did back in To Die For,
To
man.
Die For is the
she looks
best.
hot in this movie.
Yeah, she looked hot, and she looked like crazy hot, like she wasn't To Die For. I was thinking of To Die. I love that movie. I
Yes.
love that movie. And I looked at the trailer for that, and I go, oh, this is fabulous. This is her return to that kind of character. It's pulpy, and it's weird, and it's hot, and it's strange, and I cannot wait to see that movie.
All right,
That's
listen,
already-
we
yeah.
got to move on here. We're already like 20 minutes in, and we got to move on to the next topic. Listen, so by all means, guys, make sure you drop your comments in the board there. We want to get to those a little bit later. Next topic up for grabs here. We talked the other day on one of the other episodes about the fact that Sam Raimi had left the World of Warcraft film, and we, made some guesses here about what we thought that meant for the future of the film. Well, it looks like the studio is not willing to give up on this thing, which I'm personally glad about. And they have just brought on, it's been announced that they just brought on writer Charles Leavitt, I hope I'm pronouncing his name properly, who wrote such films as K-Pax and Blood Diamond, the Oscar-nominated film Blood Diamond, which is a really nice move. Now, the original script that Sam Raimi was going to direct was written by the guy who wrote, Robert Rodat, who wrote Saving Private Ryan. So, I mean, that was pretty big stuff too. But it sounds like Rodat is going to be completely redoing the script and writing a new one. So it looks like this thing is moving forward. Now, before we get to what we think about this news, we hopped on Facebook the other day and we asked you guys what you folks on Facebook thought about the news of a World of Warcraft movie moving forward. Ryan, what do we got from folks who are talking to us about World of Warcraft?
Well, from Amanda Thompson on Facebook, 13 million players, billions of dollars in revenue, pretty solid storyline. Probably wouldn't make a decent release with a solid amount of followers.
I'm giving a high five to this girl.
Pretty savage there. Coming from William Pugh on Facebook as well. World of Warcraft. How would that even work? If anything, do a Skyrim movie. At least that one has a story to expand on, or a general Elder Scrolls movie as well.
I'm okay with
This
those.
is an indefinitely expandable universe.
I don't know how to pronounce his name either. So Levitt. We're gonna go with that. Also wrote for Legendary a fantasy film called The Seventh Son, which is coming out in 2013. Which seems like he may be. They're obviously. I'm feeling like I'm not talking loudly enough. It seems like they might be happy with what he did with The Seventh Son. Now, this is starring Jeff Bridges and Julianne Moore. My guess is that they hired him based on that, possibly more than his work in Blood Diamond.
I think there's no doubt about that.
Yeah,
I think you're absolutely right.
So here's the thing. I feel like with World of Warcraft, and I am not a WoWer, and the reason I am not a WoWer is because I would never get off the thing, and I
never
can't
get off the thing.
But I think that everything sort of comes down to who directs it, because here's the thing. This is the first pass at the script. Do we really think it's going to live with this forever? No. What he has to do is get something on the page that makes sense as a cohesive beginning, middle, end film. Right? That's all this guy has to do. And then after that, whoever comes on as the director is going to have a lot to do with how it evolves from that point on. So I think what Jenna was saying last week, where you both were saying, you pick the one storyline, the one sort of lore in the universe, and you focus there.
Before we do, there was one other thing on Facebook that we wanted to get to, Ryan. Which one was that?
We've got one more question here. That is coming from Yukuki Kiryu on Facebook. Hope I got that one right. I don't think it'll be good because the game always turns out better than the movie. WoW can have many storylines, but the question is, which storyline will be most appealing to WoW fans?
Well, this one I definitely want to take because I know I discussed this the last time I was on.
Right.
There is so much lore. I think there's no way you can say, hey, there's a band of adventurers. Let's all get together and go out and do a quest, which is the game, although I play solo mostly.
Let's hit an instance.
But yeah, like, I mean, that's really fun in a game
Right.
because you don't know what's coming and all that. But I think in a movie there's really no way to do that. It's just too open-ended. Everyone will be pissed that you left something out. So I think the only way to do it, as Roth said, is something from the lore. The story of Arthas, something like that. I mean, I think it depends if you want to cover elves, like what you want to cover. But I think
Everyone wants elves.
it's kind of true. I actually want
That's a
blood
role
elves, but that's just me. They're pretty. What? But really, I think that you have to take a piece of lore, and there is tons. I mean, there are books everywhere. So you pick one of those stories and you follow it because it has a beginning, middle, and end. Not every WoW player knows all these stories, but if you are as diehard and dorky as I am, you do, and that's what I want to see. I don't want to see just some nebulous story. Like, look at the Dungeons and Dragons movie. Actually, don't look at the Dungeons.
Let's
Let's not look at
Let's
the
not look
Dragons.
at that
It's
at
best
all.
that we don't.
But the WoWers, most people aren't going to know. All you have to do for an audience, for a general audience, is deliver a story that makes sense to them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and the nice thing about WoW that I've always said is one of the few games that I think would actually make a good film is the fact that it is such an expansive world that you give a creative filmmaker a playground to move and breathe in. And really, Arthas, the Lich King, I think that is a terrific storyline where you don't make Arthas obviously your protagonist,
right?
But you can create any characters you want, blood elves, whatever, to live within that Lich King storyline. And I think that would work really well. Now, look, I brought up the objection. I've heard some other people bring up an objection. It's like, well, it's too late. World of Warcraft should have made this movie
13 million players.
I know. But
13 million.
It's lost over 1 million subscribers in 3 months.
That still leaves a lot of millions.
Yes. But here's my argument about the fact that it's too late. Really? I wasn't still collecting Transformers toys when the first Transformers movie came out.
Yes,
I had long ago stopped. Well, maybe
I
I did.
was.
Maybe I was a little
lying,
bit. But listen,
John.
I had long ago stopped collecting Transformers toys decades previously, and yet I was dying to see it. Look, not everybody is still playing World of Warcraft, but I guarantee you, when you come out with a World of Warcraft film, as long as it's not like 2016, everybody who did play World of Warcraft, and that's a lot of people, is going to be lining up to see this thing. Anyway, Jimmy, your thoughts?
First of all, yeah, I kind of agree with Roth. I think we're not going to get the completed script. This is not going to be the final draft. What we do want is a good story. We want something. I mean, come on. This is a huge franchise that could start. You've got all these stories. You've got the elves. You've got all these ideas that could make
Pandas now.
And pandas.
And pandas now. You could make tons of films, and you're going to have people who play now, the wowers now, and they're going to bring their kids. And, oh my gosh, look at this! Look at what I used to play when I was a kid. There's a lot of room for this. Did they choose the right guy for this? I don't know if it really matters.
It doesn't. I don't think it does matter at this point. I think he just has to get something. I mean, we'll see when we see the Seventh Son how he sort of does with that fantasy piece, but I think all he has to do at this point is get something down on the page. And I think if they're smart, what they'll do is try and break this out into multiple tiered franchise. You know what I mean? You go for a movie, but why not a cartoon? Do you know what I mean? Why not some anime? Why not?
I don't know if cartoons or anime would work at this point. I do know one of the reasons the studio hired the guys because they said they were kind of dazzled by his pitch.
Right.
They said they really liked his take on it, which is what makes me think that they've kind of thrown out the old script. But we'll see where they go with this. By the way, guys, by all means, once again, jump into the chat board. Let us know what you think about this, and Ryan will keep an eye out for interesting comments.
I'm also okay with Skyrim and Elder Scrolls. Both of those would totally work.
Those could work. I don't know if they're popular enough.
Yes, they are.
Let's move on to the next item here. This is interesting. There's a very cool look. Whenever Martin Scorsese is coming out with a film, you've got to sit up and take notice. Martin Scorsese has a new film he's coming out with called The Wolf of Wall Street. Now, the whole movie is a take on the greed and corruption of the famed 80s stockbroker Jordan Belfort, played by Leonardo DiCaprio. Matthew McConaughey, has just signed on to join the film with Leonardo DiCaprio, Martin Scorsese's film, of course. Now, McConaughey has signed on to play the role of Mark Hanna, a former employer, not employee, an employer of the Leonardo DiCaprio character. He joins an ensemble cast already filled with huge names like Rob Reiner, Jonah Hill, Jean Dujardin. It looks pretty good, but once again, it's a Martin Scorsese film. Of course it does. Now, Leonardo DiCaprio and Scorsese have worked extensively together. We've got Gangs of New York. We've got The Aviator. We got The Departed, which is my favorite film of the two of theirs. You got Shutter Island. They work great together. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to start this one off.
Yeah,
Adding Matthew McConaughey, I love this news. Because I'm going to tell you right now, I am one of these guys who I have said, I will argue anybody. For years, I've had these arguments with people say, oh, Matthew McConaughey, you shut your mouth. Matthew McConaughey is a very, very gifted actor. Does he always choose the best roles to be in? No. Sometimes he says, hey, which movie script shows off my abs the most? And sometimes he's guilty.
Every time he asks that question.
And sometimes he's been guilty of picking films based on things like that. But I'm sorry. You watch a film like Amistad, which I thought he was fantastic in. You just look at a recent film like The Lincoln Lawyer. I thought he was terrific in The Lincoln Lawyer. When he's called upon, Matthew McConaughey is a solid, I'm not going to say upper echelon up there with, Russell Crowe's and Daniel Day-Lewis's. I'm not going to be that silly, but he is a solid performer. And I think you add a guy like that into a mix with a guy like Scorsese, I think he'll bring the best out of him.
I think, and I'm going to say something more controversial. I think this is Matthew McConaughey's year. I really do. And I would not be surprised at all if Matthew McConaughey gets a nomination at the Golden Globes for Best Supporting Actor in a Musical or Comedy for Magic Mike.
Yes.
Because he is fantastic in that movie. I mean, he makes that movie. Mostly because basically the character is who Matthew McConaughey would probably be if he were not an actor.
And there are abs.
And there are
And
abs.
there are abs. And the best part is there's a reason for him to take off his shirt. It's kind of amazing. And he is so good in this role. So I think this really, really may be his year. I love this casting news too. I'm excited about this film. I think it's great.
His whole world has turned around ever since Lincoln Lawyer.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
he chose all these really awful, whatever romantic comedy you have this week. Oh, they were awful. But I think he's getting to a point.
I did
really
like
do.
How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days.
Oh, stop.
I did
No,
kind
it
of
was
dig that
horrible.
one. I did.
No.
Horrible.
No.
Horrible.
I liked it. Anyway, go ahead.
No, he, with that film, with Magic Mike, he's great in it. With Killer Joe.
Yeah.
He's got, I think he's really making an effort to choose the right roles now. And with working with Martin Scorsese, come on. I mean, this is absolutely his year. Will he get awards?
I would not be surprised. I
wouldn't
really
either.
wouldn't. I wouldn't. I don't think he'll get an Academy Award nomination, but I do think he'll get a Golden Globe nomination, Best Supporting, Best Musical or Comedy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, why not? He can afford a Golden Globe nomination.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jenna, let's go over to you.
I
Can
totally
he?
agree. I'm really fine if he shows his abs. That is not why I go see him in a movie. I mean, they're lovely, but many people have lovely abs. But no, I agree. I think he's going to get a Golden Globe. Absolutely. Yeah, I think he's fantastic. I'm totally excited for this film.
This is great news. All right, let's move on to the next topic here. A couple of quick ones here. This is kind of interesting. It looks like we're going to get a little bit of a Wedding Crashers reunion.
Yay.
Now, we've already known that Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson, of course, the two stars of the Wedding Crashers, have joined back up again, and they are going to be appearing in a film called The Internship. Now, The Internship is about these two older guys, Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson, who are traditional, salesmen. They lose their job because of the economy, and they find themselves as interns in a high-tech company. Now, the new news, however, is that apparently Will Ferrell has signed up to cameo in this film along with him. Now, of course, Will Ferrell cameoed in Wedding Crashers. Of course, it was too big of a role to really call it
You
cameo.
can't really.
Yeah.
He kind of had like a sort of cameo. I think the cameo was when he stepped out into the light and it was Will Ferrell. Do you know what I mean? But after that, it was more of just a small supporting role.
Yeah. So I'm getting the feeling this will probably be a small supporting role. All right. Once again, I'll start this one off. If it wasn't for the fact, to use a sports analogy, a lot of people always talk about in the golf world, not that I follow golf, but if it wasn't for Tiger Woods, Ernie Els would be considered one of the greatest golfers of all time, because I think Ernie Els came in like second to Tiger Woods like 4 times at majors. I could be wrong about the final number. I think with Wedding Crashers, the biggest thing that hurt Wedding Crashers was the fact that it opened in the same year as The 40-Year-Old Virgin, which I think is one of the top 3 greatest comedies ever made.
Bold.
Yeah, bold, but I mean, really, it's smart, it's funny, it redefined. I mean, it set the tone for all the comedies that came in the next 10 years after it. It launched Steve Carell to the stratosphere. Blah 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 blah. Anyway,
I'm just gonna throw out A Fish Called Wanda, The Blues Brothers.
Yes, please.
I think it's better than Blues
Python.
Brothers.
Airplane.
Anyway, but that's a different. We're not going to get sidetracked to another
Okay.
topic here. But I think Wedding Crashers was a really special comedy that just made me laugh my ass off, and I don't think it gets the props it deserves. Once again, because it was released the same calendar year as 40-Year-Old Virgin. I, for one, very interested in the internship. I love the chemistry between Vince Vaughn. Yes, a criticism can be made that Vaughn is often the exact same guy in all of his comedies. Maybe, but as long as he keeps making me laugh, I don't care. And I think his chemistry with Wilson is really, really sharp. Jimmy, let's start with you. Your thought on the internship with Will Ferrell joining these guys.
Just not really excited, to be honest. I liked Wedding Crashers. I thought it was fun. For some reason, this just feels like... I think when I start seeing something, if I see a trailer that sparks something, right now it just seems like, fine, I mean, I like Will Ferrell. He does a lot of bad movies, though. He does a lot of bad movies. But every so often, he does something that really surprises me. I hope that this is one of those films. It's a great idea. I mean, especially dealing with all these guys getting older and dealing with all the ageism that happens in real life. You can make a lot with that. But a funny movie, I don't know yet.
Roth?
I love Wedding Crashers. Actually, I think that's a really solid argument that it doesn't get the props that it deserves because it was released. And the 40-Year-Old Virgin was kind of like a phenomenon. People were like, wow, look at this Apatow guy. What? I mean, not now. Now we know, but at the time it was a really kind of a lot, not quite the same, but along the lines of like a Hangover phenomenon in terms of a big comedy.
It made Steve Carell a star.
Yeah.
It made Seth Rogen a star. It made Paul Rudd a superstar.
Yeah.
It did a lot.
It did a lot. And so, but I own Wedding Crashers, and I just love that movie. I don't even really know why, but it just cracks me up. And so there is that part of me that's like, wouldn't it be fun if they sort of captured that lightning in a bottle again? I don't know that they will, but I like this team up. I think they're really funny guys, and I hope that they do.
Jenna?
I liked Wedding Crashers. I didn't love it. But there's something, I have a thing, and this is just a personal thing, but I have a thing about like when things are happening that are really obnoxious that the audience knows about and the characters don't, and it's really uncomfortable. That bothers me for some reason. And so this is not my type of comedy, honestly.
Right.
40-Year-Old Virgin, totally different. Absolutely loved it. Absolutely, hands down, loved it. So I it could be funny, and I'm perfectly willing to let it be funny, and I may love it, but I'm not necessarily excited about it. There will be plenty of people who are, though, because, I mean, I'm probably one of the minority in saying that I just liked Wedding Crashers and didn't love it. Most people did. So I think it's probably going to do really, really well.
It'll be interesting to see when it comes out. I mean, once again, we got to wait to see some trailers, but very interested to see how this one turns out. Let's move on to this one, and then we're going to take a little bit of a turn here. The Dark Knight Rises. We're not going to go into The Dark Knight Rises again, but The Dark Knight Rises, of course, still number one at the box office, doing very well. But this is kind of interesting. I think it's kind of common sense, but it was interesting to hear him come out flat out and say it. Now, AMC's Marquette Smith, we had her down in New York for the red carpet premiere of The Dark Knight Rises, and she had a chance to talk to Christian Bale on the carpet. And if I had really thought about it, I should have queued up the video for us to look at here. Now, one of the things that is really quite interesting is she asked him directly, could you do another superhero movie? Could we ever see you in another comic book movie? And Christian Bale basically said no. He says, I can't see it happening. I just can't. I doubt it. He goes, I just can't see it happening. Roth, let's start with you. Then let's go to Jenna. Why would it be a good idea for him to do comic book movies again in the future?
No.
Why would it not be a good idea? Start with you.
No, I think he's absolutely right not to do another comic book movie at all. Because, and this is the reason, I think it's very, very rare once you have created a sort of iconic character to go ahead and create another one. Why? We're attached to you as Batman. That's one reason I think it's a not good idea. I think the exception is, we saw with Ryan Reynolds, he had a very small role, or a relatively small role, as Deadpool in a movie that didn't do all that well at the box office. You know what I mean? And so then he was able to go on and do the Green Lantern. That's fine. But I think that, listen, this trilogy is huge. It is massive. Audiences are incredibly attached to it. And there's something that sort of undermines it for him to now go and be what? Ant-Man? Maybe, I don't know.
No.
Like, people will start, what's he going to go do? That's one reason. And the second reason, I don't think that Christian Bale is that kind of actor. I think he took on the Batman franchise specifically because it was Nolan directing it. It was going to take comic book movies in a very different direction. And he was going to play a character in the form of Bruce Wayne and Batman that he was fascinated by and wanted to embody. I think he wants to go off now and do different things, very, very different things. And I think he's absolutely right to do that because that's the kind of actor and the kind of career that he wants.
Jenna?
I have to agree. Well, one of the things about Christian Bale, too, is he's never going to be pigeonholed as a superhero.
Right.
He had a huge career before this. He's done a zillion different things, a zillion different characters. It's not like somebody who is now known as, and only known as, Batman.
Right.
So, something like with Christopher Reeves, who obviously is amazing, but his career didn't exactly take off after that because Superman. But Christian Bale is just not that sort of actor. I think he's the sort of actor, too, that is, he's done it. Now he wants to do something else. Like, I just don't think that he's going to need to do this again.
Jimmy?
First of all, long before he was Batman, he was American Psycho. He
Yeah.
was the Machinist. He was in Velvet Goldmine. This guy he's a freaking talented actor. See, I caught that one. He's a really
look
talented.
At the first movie he was ever in as a little kid.
Yeah,
Empire of the Sun.
Steven Spielberg for you.
Right?
Yeah, I would not want to see him as another superhero. No, move on.
I'm going to disagree with y'all, but not to a great extent. I'm not going to line up and say, yeah, he should line up and do another. No, but with the popularity of comic book films right now, and with them getting seemingly better and better and better all the time, and seeing other actors being able to transition between different comic book franchises and fairly successfully and fairly well, I don't see why not, especially as you point out, he can't be pigeonholed at this point in his career because he was already so respected and so established before ever doing a comic book film. So it's not like he faces the danger that if he comes back in 5 years as the Flash, for argument's sake, right? It's not like there would ever be any danger whatsoever of people going, oh, Christian Bale's just a comic book movie guy. That couldn't happen. And if it was a good role with the right director and he could bring something really good to it, I say why not? Keep your options open. But I'm totally fine with the idea of him not. But listen, we need to get to something here. I want to remind you guys speaking of Will Ferrell, as we just did a minute ago, that this weekend at AMC Theaters Everywhere, the brand new comedy, The Campaign, with Will Ferrell and Zach Galifianakis, opens in AMC Theaters Everywhere. Now, a couple of weeks ago, I had a chance, myself and a few other guys, we had Will Ferrell and Zach Galifianakis stop by and talk with us about a couple things. And one of the things that came out of that brilliant interview was that they gave me a lot of money. To understand that a little bit more, I just want to show you this quick clip of me talking to Will Ferrell and Zach Galifianakis and collecting a lot of cash from them. Take a look at this. So, listen, the trailer for the movie is hilarious.
AMC Theaters, by the way.
It's terrible. Yeah, this is my last day.
Is it really?
Yeah, it's hard. The trailer is hilarious. You've done a lot of political satire yourself already. What makes the world of politics so ripe for comedy?
I think. You're helping him out.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I've got a kid.
$8. It's for your child. You have a wife?
Yes. She has expensive tastes.
How much did he give you?
100.
Yeah. I put a real 100.
Oh, right on.
You're losing yours too?
Yeah.
Okay. Will you take a check?
Prefer cash, but a check could work.
Okay.
This is the best carpet ever.
You okay?
Oh, I'm good. Do you guys know where I can find a Blockbuster video?
Yeah.
Right
You
behind
just
the red
invested
box.
a lot of money in Blockbuster.
I just went in hard, all in. I'm all in on
also,
Blockbuster.
Von Dutch trucker hats.
Von Dutch trucker hats and Blockbuster video. I'm trying to do a combined block.
I'm a man of my word.
I'm actually not. I gave you a real 100. I'm taking that
For
back.
the record, ZG gives about 17. Will nothing.
Will, do you have any hundreds?
You just gave 100.
I just gave it away.
I gave him 20.
Yeah.
I got a 20. That's I'll
I
take
can't even remember what I
You
asked
kids
now.
okay? You need any money?
What makes this film so important in an election year?
Well, it's. I think it is a extremely funny kind of take on how insane and absurd politics have gotten. Yeah, and obviously, with an election year, politics is on the forefront of everyone's mind. So.
Any specific inspirations for your characters as far as other
A
politicians?
little bit of John Edwards inspiration for my guy, especially his hair. Yeah, $900 haircuts, things like that. Yeah.
And Zach, what about you?
I kind of have been doing this character in this movie for a few years, since high school actually. But back then he was just called the effeminate racist. And now we couldn't call him that to make a movie. So, but yeah, I've been doing that kind of character, mostly for my dad for a long time.
Thanks a lot, guys. You can have your money back.
I really don't want to take that from you.
Zach Galifianakis gave me about $25. And we are back. And I'll have you know, I actually still have that money. I kept that money. So listen, we told you guys, we love having you guys here live, and you can ask the questions in the chat board. But for all the people who watch this show afterwards, we want to make sure that you had a way to ask us questions. So we've got an email address that you can send us topics and questions and comments about the show that you'd like to send us. You can email us anytime at fycpodcastshow@gmail.com. Once again, that's at fycpodcastshow@gmail.com. And we actually have a couple questions that we've picked from the emails that we got in from you guys this week. So, Ryan, why don't you tell us some of the emails that we got this week?
I'd love to. So, GFunk1086 says, question for later, agree or disagree, Ben Affleck will get a directing Oscar nomination before Nolan?
Ooh.
Oh.
Very interesting question.
Great question. Wow. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. He will.
Oddly, I think he'll go in
I
this year
think
for
he will
Argo.
I think he might get it for
Absolutely.
Argo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Argos is a fabulous. It looks amazing. I haven't seen it, so we can't predict how good it's going to be, but this looks like it's going to be an incredible film. I think Ben Affleck has displayed or illustrated previously, as John has said, that he's a good director. He's a really strong director, and he's just getting better. Nolan, I think, in order to get a nomination, will have to do a film that the Academy really understands as an Academy Award winning film. Does that make sense? Do you know what I mean? I feel like, that's just, I think, what he's going to have to do.
All right.
Make it Oscar bait, really.
Yeah, basically.
All right, Ryan, what else we got here?
All right, next up we have from Amy H. I love the show and your wonderful panelists. Oh. My request for a topic of discussion is the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Any thoughts on Thor 2, Captain America 2, Ant-Man and Guardians of the Galaxy? Please also address the rumors of ABC perhaps doing an Avengers-inspired TV series.
I could see them doing a TV series. I don't know that that's going to happen, but I could definitely see it happening. As far as the future of the series, I mean, I still think it's going to continue to go strong as long as we're leading up to Avengers 2. Because I think individually nothing is going to live up to the Avengers. So as long as it's like, hey, look at this cool thing that's going to happen in the future. Look at this. Oh, it's getting bigger. Oh, my God. Avengers 2.
Yeah, see, to me, look, I have no problem with if Edgar Wright, who I adore, wants to do Ant-Man.
Yes.
Yes.
Fine.
Yeah,
And even though
absolutely.
that's
Do it,
not a
Edgar.
character I think most people care about. I don't think it's a character most people care. They don't.
No, you're
He'll
right.
make
And
it work, though.
Guardians of the Galaxy, okay. You want to do Guardians of the Galaxy. Will somebody explain to me how we don't have a Hulk movie coming? Can somebody please explain to me how the character that completely makes the Avengers so special, we got Guardians of the Galaxy, everybody! Hip, hip,
John
hooray.
Smash.
I
I can
think-
explain
Where
it to
is
you.
the Hulk?
Wait a minute.
Where's the Hulk?
First of all, it might be
agree
good to
with
cut
you.
down on the coffee.
No,
Just saying.
no. John Smash, and I think John
I'm
is
so
right to
angry.
smash.
Auditioning.
John smashed the table bad. Good. No, you're right. There
Yeah.
should be a Hulk movie. Mark Ruffalo was fantastic in the Avengers. Also, Black Widow was fantastic. Those two, in my book, stole the show. But this is why I think that we're not seeing a Hulk movie. The first two.
Yeah.
I don't think that Marvel
Didn't
feels
stop them from
confident.
putting him in the Avengers.
Well, I
Yeah,
don't
but
think
that's
that
two
Marvel,
tries.
but they aren't relying on that character in the
Yeah.
Avengers. They're really relying on Tony Stark. That's what they're really relying on in the Avengers. And, like Chris Hemsworth and Chris Evans, they have a whole team in the Avengers. I think that the first two are making them gun shy of going forward again, even though audiences are all saying, hey, we love this version of the Hulk. We want to see this version of the Hulk. I think they're just feeling really gun shy. And also, just to be clear, I'm not opposed to an Ant-Man movie either.
All right, let's go on to the next email. What do we got here, Ryan?
All right, so next up we have an email from Jacob S. Do you think Disney will make John Carter 2?
No.
Because
No.
Andrew Stanton has plans to do a trilogy based on Gods of Mars and The Warlord of Mars, the next two Barsoom novels.
I'd love to see it, but I don't think that's going to happen. No way.
Yeah, no, Disney already, I think it was the chairman of Disney came out and announced that they took a $200 million hit on, and it could have been a lot worse if it didn't do so well overseas. It's really unfortunate. Andrew Stanton and a story like John Carter, which I think the marketing was handled very badly for that film, because I enjoy that movie. I really
I do
like
too.
John Carter, but nowhere near enough people saw it. When you take a $200 million loss, no matter how much goodwill you have at Disney because of all that you've done with Pixar, they're not going to agree. So, no, we're not going to see an Andrew Stanton Gods of Mars or Warlord of Mars. I don't think there's any chance.
Just quickly, I think the fact that nobody realized that every trope that we see in all science fiction movies, they all come from that book that's a 100-year-old book. So, and if they had spent more time talking about that, then people wouldn't have said, oh, that looks like something from Star Wars. Yeah, it's because that's where Star Wars got it.
Yeah,
Well,
George Lucas
yeah.
talked about how he was influenced by Princess of
Well,
Mars.
sure, but I mean, he was also heavily influenced by Kurosawa.
Oh, that
Well,
too.
yeah,
Oh, no,
and
absolutely.
He
I'm
talks
just
about
saying,
all his
yeah.
influences.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but there are specific things that he took from that, not just him.
Sure, yeah.
What else we got there, Ryan?
All right. Lastly, we have Ryan P. I watched the video of your show from Thursday and I really liked it because of the debates that John and the panel have. Do you think someone will try to make a sequel or reboot the Batman franchise, or should they just leave it alone because of the Nolan trilogy?
They should
They're
just leave it
going to
alone,
do
and
it.
they're going to do it.
Well, they're not. But once again, we got to be really clear because I'm still kind of surprised how many emails and messages I get from people saying, "What are they going to do in the next Batman?" Let's be really clear: there is no next Batman. The next time we see Batman, it's going to be completely rebooted. It's going to be a different franchise altogether. It's not going to be continuation. It's not going to be a sequel. We're not going to see Joseph Gordon-Levitt take up the Batman cowl. That might have been a spoiler. We're not going to see that. The Christopher Nolan franchise is finished. Now, that being said, guaranteed it's going to be rebooted. We will see a new Batman. We will see a new director. That's absolutely going to happen.
We talked about last week, and yes, absolutely, it's going to happen. The question is, when are they going to take it on? When are they going to say, yes, we're doing a new one, and how long it will take? Maybe 10 years, maybe 2 years, maybe
6 months.
Maybe 6 months. We don't know, but yeah, they're going to reboot it. It just won't be Nolan.
All right, Ryan, what else we got there?
Too soon.
Oh, well, just totally cool here in the chat board said Warner Brothers announced that a new Batman film might be released in 2016.
Right.
And I will be surprised if it'll be sooner than that. And what now, guys, we're going to throw it open to you guys who are in the chat board. Just keep throwing your questions into the chat board. We're done with the mailbag. We want to hear what you guys have to say. Ryan, I know a bunch of people have already been asking questions. What do we got?
Yeah, so far we've got made for movies in the chat room here. Are there any performances you guys have seen so far this year that could be Oscar contenders, in your opinion?
Yes, The Gray.
Liam Neeson
in The Gray.
Yes, Liam Neeson in The Gray.
The Gray, I think, is scheduled. They were planning to do a re-release in October to just sort of get the attention back on it now that we're sort of in the awards season. And I hope that they do, because that was not the film that I was expecting to see. I love that movie.
Yeah.
I want people to see that movie. I think it's really interesting and really good. And absolutely Liam Neeson, The Gray.
I would also add Frank Grillo as a best supporting actor. He was fantastic.
When all plays out in the end, I don't know if Frank Grillo, frankly, will be a big enough. I thought he was fabulous. I think he is a fabulous actor all the time. I thought he was also great in Warrior.
Yes, he was.
But I don't know that they're going to be able to generate the campaign for him. I think they're going to put their eggs in Liam Neeson's basket. This is it's expensive to do an Oscar campaign.
Yeah. Ryan, what else we got?
All right, so coming from... Actually, I have to do this because this guy has promised to pay me $10 to say this. So, Lung Nuts in the chat room has said, Ryan, I'll give you $10 if you tell Roth that I agree with 37 of the 43 films in her top 10 list. So, Lung Nut, make that out to Ryan Patrick McGuffey or check, cash, money order, all the above. Firstborn son,
I
organs.
love that comment because it's both complimentary and true about how far I went with that.
What else we got, Ryan?
All right, let's see. We have... Well, how do you guys feel about Pixar announcing that there will be a Finding Nemo 2 and possibly a Toy Story 4?
That's all John.
I know. That's
Look, to me, Pixar is still not just the best animation studio in film. They are the best film production studio in film, period. They're better than anybody. Their track record is far superior to anybody else. That being said, their last couple of offerings, to me, have been a little bit, let's just say, below what my expectations are. I was not a fan of Cars 2. I enjoyed Brave.
Brave was very good.
I enjoyed
think it's
Brave.
underrated.
But to me, it felt more like Disney than it did like Pixar. So I'm a little bit apprehensive. Nemo, look, it's such a great movie, and you have such great little characters in there. Yeah, let's do another one. Toy Story, I'll line up for Toy Story 27. I don't care. But somebody, kind of like the Hulk thing, somebody's got to explain to me how we're talking about Pixar sequels at all when we're not talking about The Incredibles. I mean, not only was Incredibles so good, but it's so set up to have continuous storyline. Unlike, say, like Nemo, the story's done. Like, if they have a great idea, I'm all for it. But I just don't know how we're talking about Pixar sequels and not talking about a possible Incredible sequel. That's sad to me.
I have to agree with that. That's one of my favorite movies of all time. I love it. I just absolutely love it. How are you not doing a sequel to that? Like,
Birds Moved On.
No,
somebody else.
I don't care. I like the fish. I do. I like the fish. But Incredibles, it has to happen.
Yeah. We got time for one more, Ryan. So let's take one more.
This is actually kind of going back to the Great Gatsby and Django Unchained. $5 from Isaac Cardenas says, $5 says The Great Gatsby was moved because Leonardo was going to be against himself in Django Unchained.
Ooh, that makes total sense.
That makes a lot
Total
of sense.
That is... Now, someone's going to have to help me out here, though. Did Django Unchained and Great Gatsby... Which studio are they with the same studio, or are they with different studios?
I don't think so.
I actually don't know the answer to that question off the top of my head.
Off the top of my head. Hold on.
But listen, the original press release about Great Gatsby moving to summer 2013 said, look, this movie has just turned out so amazing, we want to put it to where the biggest movie audiences is. Now, normally, when a studio moves a movie and they say, we just think it's so great, yeah, that's a load of baloney because they're moving. But if you're moving it into the summer movie season, that tells me they actually believe it. They believe The Great Gatsby is that good that it can stand in the summer blockbuster season. But I don't know who it was that made that comment in the chat board. but you got an amazingly great thought. I mean, maybe it's because
Absolutely.
they didn't want him going up against himself. I hadn't considered
That
Could
really
his
makes
role
a-
be that
a
good
ton
into
of
Django
sense.
Unchained?
Oh my God,
Yes. Yes.
Jamie Foxx at
Because Quentin
Comic-Con.
Tarantino did produce an Oscar winner in his last one.
Jamie
He's-
Foxx at Comic-Con described DiCaprio doing a scene with him in which he has to slam a table at the end of the scene, and there's a shot glass on it, right? So they come towards the last take, and he slams his hand down, and the shot glass goes through his hand. DiCaprio gets up, finishes the scene, they call cut, and he gets up and goes like this. Hold on, you can't see me. But he's like... Jamie Foxx depicts him doing this with blood dripping down his hand. Yeah, I think he's going to kick the crap out of this role.
I should just point out. I've been told that, reminded that the two different studios. One is Weinstein,
Right.
obviously, but the other one, Gatsby, is Warner Brothers.
Okay.
So they are two different studios, but they may still not want to play him off themselves. If it was the same studio, I'd say that's definitely it.
But there's
still
it's to the
possibility.
studio's benefit if DiCaprio gets a nomination. So it's to each studio, and
Yes,
maybe they
it-
negotiate.
it's a win-win
Yeah.
for both of them. Well, listen, folks, and Ryan, you want to get this graphic ready here about the links graphic here, but don't forget, folks, we're wrapping up. We are wrapping up the show now, but we want to remind you, you can get movie news 24/7, get theater and showtime information anytime at www.amctheaters.com. We encourage you to follow us on Facebook and on Twitter, and we really want you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can see all the links in the graphic that we have up there. Right now, I want to thank the guys for joining us. I want to thank Jimmy. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you. It was a pleasure.
Jenna Busch for being here.
Stay geeky, my friends.
Roth Cornet.
I think it's an amazing year for movies coming up.
It
Yay.
is. It is an amazing looking year. And thank you guys so much for joining us. Don't forget, you can now, the show may be over, but you can still email us your questions and comments that you want us to address next time for our mailbag time. Email us at fycpodcastshow@gmail.com. We'll get to those. Thanks again for joining us. Continue chatting in the boards if you'd like to. And guys, until next time, don't forget, join us live every Monday. And our next show is going to be Thursday, 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We'll be right here again. Until next time, thank you so much for joining us. My name is John Campia. Bye-bye.